So, questions have always been coming concerning engine oil, and that is, please help me make a choice between 10W-40 and 5W-40 for my engine, for my vehicle, this and that, and also the recommendation. No, not the recommendation. Yeah, change interval recommendation. So I always tell people when it comes to oil change interval, I don't tell people publicly what they should do. I only tell you what manufacturer recommends. Privately, yeah, I do tell people, hey, I think this might be okay for you. People that I know, okay, this is their driving style. However, I will still tell you, um, maybe you should do this, based on what I mean driving style. I know maybe this is the way the person drives generally, or how he uses the car, you know. So, but publicly, I don't do that. So, I would rather work with the manufacturer recommendation, or you can reduce it depending on what you want. So, but back to the reason why I'm doing this video about which 5W-40, 10W-40, which one should you use? Peugeot, Honda, whatever. So I don't know. It can be difficult sometimes to recommend, but I always do. Once I know your 5W-40 is recommended for your engine, as in by the manufacturer, let's assume for Peugeot engines, some of them 5W-40 are recommended. I always put it on number one in terms of priority, number one on the list. If you have to choose which oil to use, but I'll still tell you, hey, go ahead and choose the one you want. However, if you want to use this one, there is a price you might pay. For example, between the 5W-40 and 10W-40, they all have their prices to pay. That means a little bit downside for each of them. None of them is perfect, even though they're actually recommended by Peugeot for some of their engines. Still, they all have their downsides. So now, today, I'm going to focus more on 10W-40. Now I'm going to use the total own. So the one we have in Nigeria is total for 7,000X. 7,000X. Different from what you probably find in other regions of the world. I don't know the major difference between for 7,000 and for 7,000S. They are all the same 10W-40, but I don't know, the one they are selling in Nigeria is 7,000S. So, and they also have, it has the same recommendation, which is, not recommendation, certification, PSA B712300. Initially it was something else, but the 2300, 2300 is like, they changed the number. So, okay, so let me go straight to it. So, I had to bring this can. This is actually an old container. I purchased this one, I don't know, 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, or thereabouts. So this is, as you can see, for 7,000 X. Look at that X there. 10W-40. This is international recommendation. This is A3-B4. So this is the I think this is the container. If I'm not mistaken, this is the one that this oil was introduced with for the first time in Nigeria. As you can see, at that time there is no Peugeot certification here. But the recent one now, I think you can see Peugeot certification somewhere here, around that U71. So it's written somewhere here, So In Nigeria, they have a 1 liter, 4 liter container. This one says, this is the right up here. So synthetic based engine oil formulated with clean sheet technology, excellent cleanness properties for all types of valves, long journey and urban drive, requiring frequent starts. So this is where I want to focus on, these benefits. So what is not stated here is what I want to talk about, and that is, if you go to Total website, there is a technical data sheet for this oil, where they state properties or whatever of the oil. So one of the things that is stated there clearly is this for 7000X 10W-40 is for normal driving condition. Normal driving condition. I want to state it very clear, because just because it's recommended doesn't mean it can be used in any manner of driving you want to do for that engine. I repeat, just because Peugeot recommended it for your engine does not mean it will serve the purpose for any type of driving condition you use your car for. No. I recall somebody was asking me the other day in the Lion community group, and I was telling the person was asking, what's my oil change interval? I think he was asking what's my own personal oil change interval, or what's the duration of oil change do I recommend. So I told the person, no, I will not state it, because my style of driving is different from every other person. It's different. Well, I won't say everybody that exists outside me, but I'm saying generally, on average, most people don't drive the way I do. So I can't use my own oil change, call it discipline. Yeah, because, once in a while, I could say I will kind of probably forget, or intentionally will leave it to sit probably a little bit more in terms of months or weeks before I change, because I use months to change, not mileage. Again, I don't use every other, because most people have only 1 or 2 cars, and probably daily they cover up to 500 kilometers. So you can't use that for me, because in my own case I have options. So it might take a while before I use a particular car. So you can't use that to judge. So in other words, I hardly cover up to the recommended mileage for engine oils. So you can't say, oh, well, if you do 6 months, you're supposed to recommend 6 months for me too. But one thing that is more important, aside duration, whether it's mileage or using months, whichever comes first, one thing that is very important is how you drive that car, how you use that engine, not just duration for the oil change, how you drive the car. That's why I choose 5W-40 for the ESV6 engines, 3 of them that I have, instead of 10W-40, which is also recommended. I use 5W-40. Like I said, my driving style is different. I drive harshly most times, and which is why I'm doing this video. It says normal driving condition. If I use this oil, I remember there was a time I used this Total for 7,000 in this car, actually. Yeah, that's it. I see it. This car, I used it just for once. Didn't even last up. I think I used it maybe 7, 8, maybe up to 10 months. I can't remember. Just one. I used for one oil change. I was like, no, not because the oil, I won't say was messing up the engine or anything, but I just couldn't use the car the way I was using it before I put this for was 10,000. No, was 7,000. This 10W-40. It made me start losing interest in driving the car, because I knew that the 5W-40 was ensuring better protection for my driving style for that engine than the 10W-40 would provide for the engine. There was no way 10W-40 will handle that kind of protection or provide that kind of protection for the engine the way 5W-40 was doing for me. How I knew this at that time I was using that 10W-40 in this engine, because of how the 5W-40 have served me for years. Not one, not two, for years, with my harsh driving most times. And the engine still, those engines still remain intact. Because it stated clearly on the 5W-40, the fully synthetic one, it stated clearly suitable for high temperature or low temperature operation or condition. You can, meaning it will protect your engine better at low cold starts when the temperature, oil temperature is very cold, compared to this one. That doesn't mean this one will not protect your engine at cold start, but the other one will give you better protection. In other words, it's not necessary even when you crank the engine and it starts that I'm even bothered with. What I'm bothered with, the duration it takes for the oil temperature to get up. That's where my concern is. So at that time, because you have to drive off immediately, at least minimum, not even up to a minute, you should drive off as far as fuel injection system is concerned. Because the engine warms up faster when the car is in motion, or the engine load is added on the engine, than sitting at one place. We grind the engine more when the engine is running cold at one place without moving, the vehicle moving. So the time it now takes the oil to get up, the temperature to get up, before you can now say, okay, let me start pushing the car a little bit harder. That's where I need that good protection as well. Also, when the temperature of the oil is now very hot, talking about 120 degrees Celsius, 130 degrees Celsius, and I decide to push the RPM close to 6,000 RPM every once in a while, the 5W-40 will protect my engine much better than the 10W-40 will. As I said, based on my own driving style. Now you can see normal driving condition means, you start your car. It's also, you can see mention urban drive. You can also do journeys, if I'm not mistaken. Long journey. Yeah, I mentioned long journey. Yeah, you can travel. Normally when you do long journey or road trip with your car, it's not necessary speed. Like when I mean speed, push your car to 200 kilometers constantly. No. 100 kilometers, 110, maybe maximum 120. That's what the average person does when in a long trip journey. So that nobody will serve you. He said, he mentioned also requiring frequent starts. Maybe it will also protect your engine. I'm talking about 10W-40 when you crank your engine every once in a while. Yeah, it will. But the reason 5W-40 is kind of much more special for engines they are recommended for is, no matter how cold the weather is, the oil is thin enough, and also because of the viscosity, as in it can handle heat without degrading that much. It can be able to withstand even when the engine is extremely hot, because when oil is too hot than it should, of course it won't be able to, the viscosity, it might lose the viscosity, or it won't be able to protect as it's rubbing on the metals. It may actually start grinding. At that time it may even become water. But those fully synthetic tiny oil like that total was 9,000 5W-40. Yeah, they will protect that. I'm telling you as somebody who have experienced this. Not telling you as theory. What I read. Even though it's stated there on the PDF, you go to technical data sheet of total was 7,000. Oh no, total was 9,540. It's stated there. But I also tell you as someone who I use it for over a decade, and I'm telling you what I've experienced, not just on one engine. So I want you to understand that, so that when you are choosing, don't say, oh, if you see somebody driving the same model of your car, pushing his engine hard most of the time, you start doing the same thing without checking what kind of oil does the person has compared to you. It doesn't mean 5W-40, no matter what you do, will always protect your engine. No. Of course, on extreme situation, yeah. For example, let's assume the weather is very cold, like maybe -10 degrees Celsius. You start the car immediately and push the throttle to the floor. Come on, the engine might even give a completely at that moment. But my point is, you stand a chance. Even if it's going to wear rapidly, it won't be as bad as the 10W-40. 10W-40 is good. It's semi-synthetic. It's also light. Not necessarily light. It's just between thick and light, So, just know that while you are buying. Now you might say, is it only total was 9,000 5W-40 that can do that? No. I've also gone to mobile data sheet, the technical data sheet, that mobile super 3000 S4 5W-40. Almost you gain the same benefits, almost the same. I didn't even see much difference in terms of the claim for mobile. It gives it better protection on extreme harsh use. Just like total, almost everything the total 5W-40 is claiming, that's what it's claiming too. So I'm not saying it's only total for fine. The only reason I'm mentioning these two is because these are the two I know with the certification from Peugeot, which is PSA B712296. What's my experience with the Mobile Super 3000 5W-40? My experience is it's still limited. 2 years. Not even sure it's up to 2 years, but let's just say maybe 2 years. But I still drive them the way I was driving the car when it had the total was 9,000 5W-40. I always tell people, if I have my way, I will continue with the total was 9,000 5W-40. It's just the price. It's just... Obviously, if I did not have any other option, just as well, there's no Mobile Super 3000 5W-40, or maybe I did not find any other one recommended by Peugeot, same alternative of that total, I probably might sadly still be using the was 9,000. That's the truth. I don't hate 10,000. I use this, like I said, I bought it. I use it in my 505. This is, and I still recommend it to people. Nothing wrong with the oil. But I know not everybody is like me. Not everybody drives like me. So why recommend that 5W-40 or insist that you go for 5W-40 when you don't actually need it? There are also a claim by some technicians, or one or two, perhaps like 2 technicians I've seen. In fact, actually one, but the other person is a normal car user who claims that he agrees with the technician in Europe that 10W-40 is actually better for V6 engine in Peugeot cars. That's what he's claimed, that 5W-40 even damages these V6 engines in 406, 407, 607, 807, name them. C1, C5, C6, name them. That was his claim. He's a technician. He showed pictures of engines that he said that were damaged, or that, in fact, he showed about, in the picture, he said it was his garage. Showed about 10 Peugeot and the C1 vehicles, V6 engines, that had issues with their engine. That's what he claimed. I don't know what happened to the engine. He said these are because we were using 5W-40. That was what damaged all those engines. I told him, yeah, unfortunately, if you had came to me with this your claim when I started my first ES engine, yeah, probably I would have gone with your advice. But I've used my this 5W-40 you are condemning. I've used it on mine for over a decade. So I didn't experience anything you are saying. And I've used it more, not just one, more than one. So I don't have the no, the incentive is not there. If I not experienced it as in personally, I would have said, hey, maybe. But he could be right. That's why I tell people, you know, I made my own option. I was like, even if he's right, see where I'm coming from, even if he's right, that 5W-40 is bad for 46 VCs, 47 VCs, 607 VCs, 807 VCs, name them, as well as his ES VCs engine. Even if truly 5W-40 is bad for all of them, we're talking about ES9J4, ES9J4S, ES9A, these three engine series, if it's bad for them, the 5W-40, I don't have any option, at least for now, because the way I drive, I don't think 10W-40 can serve that purpose for me. It's going to reduce, it's going to, I don't know, it might make me very upset, or I just drive these cars and they actually give me what I want. So it might not damage them. The 10W-40 might not even have any effect after what they are recommended. But will I really have that courage to push them the way I push them with the 5W-40? To be very honest with you guys, when I put that 10W-40 on the VCs, I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I wasn't comfortable. I don't know. It made it look as if the engine was noisier than it should. I could be wrong. Maybe, like I said, it could be something playing in my mind. But when I put 5W-40, you know, it was as if I was biased when I did it. So it just became quieter. Like I said, it's possible that he wasn't quiet as when he now has 5W-40. That it was also the same degree of quietness with the 10W-40. But you know, the unfortunate thing, I stopped driving the car the way I drive my other ES engines. It's just very sad thing. At the point, I was just waiting for this thing to be due to get rid of it. Even though the oil did nothing to me, but I was like, how can I be driving this VC Scoop? This fun, aggressive looking, wild animal. How can I be driving it? It's not just wild, it's even well packaged in terms of performance. How can I be driving it like nanny? Just because I don't want to wreck the engine, which might not happen too, even if I choose to push it that hard. But, you know, it's stated clearly there by the manufacturer of both oils. The manufacturer of the 5W-40, manufacturer of 10W-40 stated clearly, this one will protect your engine better at harsh use. When you rev it harder, or constantly, or when the engine is cold and you push it a little bit harder. I'm not saying it's the ideal thing, but it will protect it more. It may not grind it as bad as the other will do. Why this other one? No, normal condition, you are the gentle type, you start and move, maybe occasionally you speed with the car, you know, stuff like that, no problem. So I know why. So I'm just laying out the whole factors for you to make your choice. Because if you go and buy as manufacturer of the Total for 7,000 stated, the Total itself stated is for normal. You buy it and start driving it crazy, like those fully synthetic one, 5W-40 should be able to, or it's meant to be used for. If your engine grinds, your convert bearings, your main bearings, or your rings start failing, hey, I warned you on time. That's my only thing I would say. Okay, so it's taking too long. I didn't even want it to go beyond 10 minutes, but yeah, it happens. At least I've been able to explain. People who always call me, hey, or send me message or post, which oil should I use? Is it don't use what I use. Or if you want to use, or now at least understand why I use it. I use what is recommended by Peugeot. The reason why I also use this 10W-40 because the 505 VCs, the 505 2.0 ST, those ones, they were 10W-40 were recommended for them. At that time, I don't even think there was anything like synthetic oil or semi-synthetic. So I probably, well, were they even mineral at that time? I don't even know what they were. They were 10W-40, 15W-40, all those things. So now the oil has been improved. So I don't necessarily have to now go with it must be total. It must be this. So that's what I'm saying. For now, I use 10W-40 that is recommended for them. So whichever 10W, all I need is fine quality 10W-40 and see what happens. So so there's another 10W-40 I'm going to introduce very soon, which is not total, but it's not recommended for Peugeot engines. I'm considering it for the 505. These are agricultural engines, so you should do that. So the video I'm going to do on that is not for you guys that drive modern Peugeot engines. If you want to use it, fine, but Peugeot did not recommend it for their engines. Since the oil, even if I see oil recommended for Peugeot 504 engines in my 505 or whatever, I don't think I'll bother buying them. Even if I see the one Peugeot actually recommended at that time. What's the point? It's been decades ago, and there have been so many improved 10W-40 now that will even protect the engine better than those ones. Because things keep changing, technology keep improving in terms of engine oil. So why go back and buy the one that they end up wearing the bearing faster? You know? So that's why I don't bother anymore with it mustn't be total as far as those 505 engines are concerned. So those videos, you can learn from them. And maybe if I use it and it gives me what I want, maybe I may say, okay, the total is good, but maybe that one, because number one, it's cheaper, and it's also a good brand in terms of quality. You know, it's a good brand, but I haven't tested it before. There's a mixed review in terms of feedback online. Some are saying, no, they didn't like it that much. Some are saying they liked it. I mean, every product, everybody can't like what they got from the usage. You know, so we'll see how it goes. So like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.